Hey, and welcome back to Pick'em. We're going to take a look at the college and professional ranks now. Starting with Ferris State coming off a big homecoming win against Northern Michigan last week. The big game coming up here is the Anchorbone Classic at Lover Stadium on Saturday. Ferris State hasn't won this game since 1999, but it would appear this is probably their best chance to do that in some time against the Grand Valley team that struggled early in the season. They've since rebounded. The question, Bob, is what type of Grand Valley team are they going to get this week? Are they going to get the one that struggled early in the season, or they'll get the one that has kind of righted the ship here? And who do you have winning this one?
I think that's the $64,000 question. I think if you get the Grand Valley team from the beginning of the year, Ferris wins this. If you get the Grand Valley team of late that's been playing a little better, I think Grand Valley wins this. I think the rivalry plays a part in this. It's at Grand Valley. They're going to have 14,000, 15,000 people in the stands. I think Grand Valley wins this one, but I think this one's going to be an entertaining, high-scoring affair where it goes down to a field goal at the end. I like Grand Valley by a field goal.
Brandon, do you see this one going down to the wire when it's in the past it's been Grand Valley and mainly blowouts in these games? And what does Ferris have to do to win this game?
I see Ferris coming in and having to struggle a little bit against a Grand Valley team that is starting to believe in itself. Both teams average over 400 yards of offense. So it can be a gunslinger's paradise out there, or it can be a defensive struggle. And what it comes down to is Grand Valley's at home, and they're going to have their fans behind them, and they're going to have that emotion in that rivalry. And I see Grand Valley winning by at least 2 scores.
This was a game that I had Ferris State winning a couple weeks ago, but the transformation that's happened with Grand Valley leads me to believe that there's a little bit more talent that's starting to come to fruition than we had originally thought. Another big factor in this is that Ferris State is going to be hobbling into Lover Stadium. They have a lot of significant injuries on both sides of the ball. I think they're going to throw it all on the line, and this is going to be a very entertaining game. I think Grand Valley wins a close one, though. The next game we're taking a look at is Wisconsin at Michigan State. There's a lot on the line here. Both teams, might be looking at the inside track to their division championships in the Big Ten with a win in this game. Wisconsin comes in the Big Ten's top offense. Michigan State, the top defense in the Big Ten. Bob, who has an advantage in this game? Because both teams are on such a roll right now.
It depends how you want to look at it. Defense wins championships. We hear that. That would definitely give Michigan State the advantage. Wisconsin can run the ball. They got the biggest offensive front in college football. They're athletic. They're agile. They can really pound it. It's going to be a contrast of styles. Though Michigan State is at home, I thought this was one of their losses at the beginning of the year. I haven't seen anything that will sway me to say differently. I think Wisconsin wins this one, probably by a 28-14 score.
Brandon, does an emotional win this past week for Michigan State over Michigan, does that take something out of Michigan State's tank where they might have expended a lot of energy trying to beat their rival, and then you have to get up for a top 5 team in the country? And who do you have winning this one?
Well, we'll have to wait and see what happens if they blew all their sails out before against Michigan, or if they can handle the offense from Wisconsin. It's going to take a lot for Michigan State to step up against Wisconsin's offense. Their defense is solid, but when it comes down to it, you need to score points, and Wisconsin scores a lot of them. I see them scoring at least 2 touchdowns more than Michigan State.
One thing that I don't think people remember is that Michigan State beat Wisconsin last year. This is a team that is better than people people give them credit for. I think Michigan State's going to keep this very close, particularly in a night game at home. With Wisconsin, they've looked great on offense, but you have to wonder who these teams that are playing against and what type of quality defense they are. I've got Wisconsin winning this one, but it's going to be very close. I think this is a nail-biter. Final game we're taking a look at is Atlanta at Detroit. Detroit coming off a very disappointing last-second loss to San Francisco a week ago. Everybody's attention this week has been turned to Jim Schwartz and Jim Harbaugh. Let's get back to talking about the Lions for a second here, though. How do they avoid an upset against an Atlanta team that a lot of people thought was going to be a lot better than they've been so far at the beginning of the year, Bob.
First of all, you said upset, which I don't think any of us would have said at the beginning of the year that if Atlanta wins, that would be an upset. But the big thing for the Lions, and it's true for almost all NFL teams, you got to stop the run. The Detroit Lions are 26th or 27th in the NFL in stopping the run. Frank Gore and company last week got 239 yards, I believe it was. Atlanta comes in with a decent running back, Michael Turner. If they can't stop him, it's a long day. I don't think they will. And I see Atlanta winning this one probably like a 31-17, 31-24 kind of score.
Brandon, what happened to this defensive front that everybody was pinning as the next great defensive front in NFL history at the beginning of the year? They've been getting gashed for some pretty big yardage totals in the ground game. What do they have to do to fix that, and who do you have winning this week?
I think what you see with Detroit's front four is they're not worried about the run. They're going after the quarterback when the ball is snapped. Linebackers are the ones having to pick up the slack. If Sue ends up knocking down a running back, it's because he ran into him. But the defensive front is great, and they are going to be challenged this week with another good running back. What it comes down to is if Detroit's going to play the game where they think they can run, so they do 15, 16 attempts and then just throw the ball all over the place without letting Javid Best, if he plays, get involved. Ronnie Brown, who knows what kind of impact he'll have on the game, if any. What it comes down to is doing what works for the Lions, and that's getting Calvin Johnson, Brandon Pettigrew, Nate Burleson, Titus Young, all those guys involved. This is a passing offense. We can't kid ourselves and believe that they're going to have another Barry Sanders get 120, 130 yards a game. It's not going to happen. You have the arm behind you, and they need to get to Calvin Johnson. That's their playmaker.
Yeah, I agree. I think there should be a little bit more urgency on behalf of the offense. That was what toward the end of the game where they seemed to be in control early against the 49ers. The offense kind of just disappeared in the second half, which I think was the result partly of an offensive line that does not block well and can't get rushing yards out of their production. But it also has something to do with execution, and I think that the offense needs to execute down the stretch if they're going to beat Atlanta. I have Detroit winning this one, but not a ton of confidence in that. I would say that's as close to pick 'em as you're going to get. So that's all the games we have to look at for this week. As always, make sure to visit www.bigrapidsnews.com or check out Monday's edition of the Pioneer for results from these games.